Hi everybody, it's your buddy Brad here, and today we are going to be taking a look at the Curl SP variation. So to begin with, um, we have our regular color grid here, add it as a final. And we have Curl SP. Going to zoom out a little. Now by default, the C1 is on the curls on the X, and the C2 curves on the Y, as you can see. So if we set C1 to 0, how it's curling the squares on the Y. Set C2 to 0 and increase C1. It's kind of curling on the X axis. And we also have a power variable here. If we shrink this down, set everything to 0, we see it kind of is breaking up the square into 4 different parts. So if we increase it, so this is at default, and now we see it's actually pushing it out more. So it's actually overlapping on the sides here. So now if we add the C, or the curl, you can see how some of it is coming up and around. And one thing I've noticed is you have to be really careful, because if you do this too much, it will just warp too much and you'll actually lose your image. So you want to use the power sparingly. I'm going to set this back to 1 and set this to 0. And then we have power. The C1 and C2 are curls. Then we also have SX and SY. And the S stands for split. So if we increase S, it's actually it is splitting it. We just can't tell until we add a curl to it. So it is splitting this part and this part. It's actually splitting up the square. So if I set this to 0, and then if we do a SY, you can see here how it's separating the sides of our graph. Increase it. If you go into negative, it still does the same thing, so that at least for this it doesn't matter. And we also have DC, which is just direct coloring, so it's either 0, 1, and of course as a final it doesn't pick up the gradient. Or does it? Let's see. No, it's not as a final. But then we also have, I found out, that it also is a 3D variation. So if we load our grid cube, go to curl SP, now normally, so you see it's also curving on the x's, on the x and the y here some. Here we are really curling out the inside of the cube, going out, and then vice versa. So basically that's the left inside of the cube. This is the bottom, right, left, the top. So you see how it can affect, especially in 3D space, how it can move things around. Then here, with the Y, and if we add some split to it, you can see the separation here. Actually, I think if we set that to 0, yeah, it's just actually it's turning the cube around, which is or it's rotating. So then let's try this. Let's go to Object Mesh Primitive. Set the primitive to 5. I always like using this first gradient here. Zoom in. And if we add it as another variation on the same transform, set it to 1. And of course it's blowing everything out because we need to set this as post. We see now how it's already curving the cube of the mesh. And then again, you can see how it is warping it around. That's C, that's with Y. Getting some very cool effects. And the split. Now here's where you can really see the split in action. So let's set this back. So if I set this back to 0, let's lower this some. Lower this some. So you see here it's splitting the edges or the inside of the cube. And we see it again splitting. Then we can also, so I remove that as a variation. Now we are just on the object mesh. I'm going to reset the pitch and yaw, click on the object mesh, and I'm going to add a linked transform, which works beautifully now. And and go back up to curl SP. And you still see it works in the same manner as before, except now we can move the triangle around. And remember, this is all off of using only the object mesh. And if we use our little variation effect viewer, it shows us kind of what it's doing. So I'm going to reset here. I'm going to set everything to 0. So basically we have our grid here. So if we increase the C1, if you notice, the object is going along the same as our grid is here. And if this cube was bigger, then you would see it coming around like this. So let's go ahead and give that a try. So it's following the same pattern as our grid. This is, if you really want to know how to see how a variation you're on, what it is doing, just click this little button here and it will give you this grid. It is very, very handy. So I'm going to set that to 0. So we have a little bit of a curl. Then we can see how it is, if you go to the split, how it's splitting it up. So here I'm actually curving it around and around. Till we can actually get it back to where it was, more or less. And now we should have able to see the DC effect. No, but DC direct coloring does work. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, we do. Yeah, we can see it here. Let me change my gradient. So if we zoom in, you can see how it's using some of the color from the gradient. Now, of course, we're only seeing the object because we linked it. If we go up to the chaos, go set the curl SP back to 1. Now I can see more of fractal effect because we are iterating it with the object mesh. Then we can increase the weight of it. And you can see that. Adding some split. See how it is warping it around. This is a very fun variation to play around with. was actually surprised while trying to get more info for the video that I searched for curl SP on DA and there's only 4 images for it, which I found a little surprising. And another thing we can do, actually, let's go back here. I am going to remove the curl and add a log tile 2. Set everything. And give a little bit of space in between the meshes here. And so if we add the curl SP as a final, you can also see how it is working. So basically, by doing this, it's doing the object and the tile, it's making a grid. Of course, you can change the pitch some. And if we go to even the YZ plane, we can get some very cool effects to see how it's actually working. Like I say, this is works as a 3D variation. Yeah, I'm just here showing some examples of what you can do. And reset this. And we see how it's actually split the whole grid into these 2 circles here. And if we change the power, we can really see the effect, how much it can warp out your image. Well, I think this is about covers what some of the possibilities you can do with curl SP. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. And until next time, talk to you later. Bye.